Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. Well, another day, another Lorna Slater story. This time she's had what can be described as a car crash television interview, where it has been said she's trying to cover up her own inadequacies. Well, you're going to need a bigger tarpaulin. Her inadequacies are legendary. Anyway, we'll take a look at this article. It's not a long article, just a quick one in and out. But basically, she is unable to take responsibility for the problems. These are the problems that she should have foreseen had she got the mental ability to do so. Had she got the intellectual ability to foresee consequences of what she was proposing. But of course she doesn't, because, like so many in the SNP and the Greens, she's a moron. And that is why all these policies fail. But we'll have a look and see what the moron has done this time. Here goes. So, Lorna Slater, desperate to cover up her own inadequacies with a car crash interview. The Green co-leader has said that the UK government's intervention has created massive uncertainty over the DRS. But she has been told her comments are petty and she ought to accept responsibility for her own project. Yeah, this has got nothing to do with the UK government, Lorna. This is all you. This is all you and your bright idea, which failed to take in any kind of failure mechanism. You had no cost analysis. You had no consequential understanding of things. You were asked questions that you were failing to answer because you just didn't have the answers. How many companies were on board with this? How many companies were willing to invest? What is the investment level? What is the loss of taxation caused by that investment level? All of these impact statements. You can't do them without these things. You didn't do them. So there's no point now sitting there and blaming others for your own terrible mental, intellectual, and I think physical inadequacies because you're just too lazy to do the work. Anyway, Lorna Slater, MSP, has said she now has to go away and have another look at the deposit return scheme after she blamed the UK government for interfering with democracy. How are the UK government interfering with democracy? They've asked you to put your paperwork in. You haven't done it. That's not any issue of democracy. That's an issue of lazy, inadequate people failing to do the job they're supposed to do. That's what that is. The Greens minister warned that without the UK ministers giving the DRS a green light, it would become unviable. It was always, from day one, unviable. But it faced a major backlash from industry experts over concerns she was ignoring warnings that it would create a disaster and a trading barrier. UK ministers stepped in and offered a constructive solution. Unhappy with the verdict, which I covered in a previous video. Unhappy with the verdict, Ms Slater has accused the UK Conservatives of an absolutely outrageous U-turn on the inclusion of glass. But the opposition have said she's only trying to cover up her own inadequacies. Yeah, I mean, it basically isn't going to come. This is dead in the water now. This whole thing is dead in the water. The UK government has said, no, the only way we're going to give you this exemption is if you take glass out of it, because it affects so many people. She said, well, it don't work without glass. Well, it doesn't work anyway, even with glass. And also that the UK-wide one is only about 18 months away. But they don't want that. It's not that they're against the UK-wide one per se. It's that the UK-wide one isn't the Scottish one, isn't one that they can take credit for. And therefore it's like, oh, but then if other people are bringing it in, what's the point of us being here? Which is a question a lot of people are asking. Anyway, Scotland has approval for a pilot DRS that will ensure consistent practices across the UK when England and Wales launch a bottle scheme in 2025. Speaking on the BBC Sunday show, Ms Slater said it was always the intention to work with the rest of the UK, but the backlash doesn't bear this out. No, because she's lying. Again, she has to lie to cover up the fact that she's got it wrong. Again. She said the UK government are responsible for creating uncertainty, but even her interviewer said, you're not totally blameless in creating uncertainty for businesses yourself. As the Circular Economy Minister, she has been blamed for ignoring the concern of major retailers and producers, and with escalations in tension with the Conservative ministers, and she has been repeatedly told that the blame for failure lies with her. She's not engaging with people. She just wants to push this through because she thinks it's a good idea. She's not engaging with the drinks industry. She's not engaging with the retailers, with the distributors. She's enforcing this. She keeps telling them, you've got to do this. But she's not talking with them. She's not finding out what they need, how far they can meet her on the way to it. You know, there's no consensus. There's no construction. There's just imposition by will because she thinks she's important. She's not important. And as soon as the gender bill fails, the Greens are going to have to make the decision of whether they're going to get up and walk away. And if they do, that's the end of all this madness. And thank God for that. I say thank God for that. She is comedy gold, as I describe it. Anyway, a major retail consortium accused her of having torpedoed the DRS. Tesco called for a UK-wide scheme, and Alistair Jack, MP, the Secretary of State for Scotland, said he was inundated with concerned messages. Scottish Conservative MSP Maurice Golden responded to the latest interview. He said, once again, Lorna Slater has tried to cover up her own inadequacies by pettily attempting to make the deposit return scheme a constitutional issue, which of course is a load of rubbish. The UK government have listened to worried businesses who are calling for a UK-wide approach. The reality is the SNP and Greens have made such a mess of things that the current scheme is unrecognisable from the one envisaged 4 years ago. It's because they insist on micromanaging every single aspect, because they don't like the idea that someone somewhere can do something and take the credit for it. Rather than dismissing the concerns of businesses, both Lorna Slater and the SNP Green Coalition should be accepting responsibility, making amends and trying to salvage this botched scheme. Ms Slater said the UK government has done a U-turn on the commitment to glass. Rishi Sunak, Alistair Jack, even Douglas Ross all stood for election in 2019 on a manifesto that promised a deposit return scheme with glass. Now they've decided to remove glass from the England scheme alone. That, my darling, is an absolute lie, and you know it. Lorna Slater is opening her mouth, and she knows she's lying there. They have not removed glass from the UK-wide scheme. They're removing glass from the Scottish scheme because it will be so damaging to the Scottish whisky industry, number one. And secondly, the with glass will be part of the UK-wide one, which has been better thought out, which has got more controls in place, and which will in some way mitigate against all the problems that the Scottish one's got, basically. And it will cut down the fraud massively. But she can't accept that because it's not theirs. The other reason, this is another thing, the other reason that the Scots want to run their own one is that all these 20p's goes into the Scottish Government's coffers, which means there's more opportunity for them, I think, possibly to commit fraud and embezzlement and money to go missing and little payoffs here and little payoffs there. Whereas the UK one would go into the Westminster coffers, and the Scottish Government don't get their cut. They don't get their little backhanders. I think that's half of what the problem is here. Anyway, Wales and Scotland would like to continue to include glass, as do England, in the UK-wide one when it comes. It is one of the most pernicious forms of litter on our street. It's dangerous. It can cause a hazard to children and pets. This is a bit of a shock for them to suddenly move the goalposts on us at the last minute, she added. Well, no. If you want the goalpost truly moved, Sunak could have just said, no, you're not having it. End of story. Bang, done. And then you'd have complained as well. But you're such a child. And there she is, look, mouth open, agog as she realises her own stupidity. Anyway, I'm rounding off and coming up. So there you are. If that woman has learnt anything from her time being close to the SNP, it's that she knows how to lie and lie and lie again. And when she's caught, tell another lie to get out of those. You know, it's like the SNP all over again, isn't it, with the Greens? They cannot tell the truth. And the reason they can't tell the truth is, of course, that the truth would be utterly devastating for everything they're trying to do. They know that they lack the intellectual ability to come up with schemes. They know the schemes they are coming up with are rubbish. They know everyone's caught them out. And yet they live in this state of denial and they keep lying about it. God help us all. Anyway, thank you very much for listening. If you like what you see in here on the channel, please hit that subscribe button, ring the bell, leave a like, leave a comment, please share the video. And until next time, stay safe, stay well, still recycle your glass, just go to the bottle bank, and goodbye.